The Egyptian desert stretched endlessly under the pale moonlight, casting long shadows over the crumbling ruins of an ancient temple. Dr. Michael Carter, an esteemed archaeologist, stood at the entrance of a newly unearthed tomb, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and unease. The tomb, believed to belong to Ankhhotep, a forgotten priest of the Old Kingdom, had been untouched for millennia. As he descended the stone steps, the air grew thick, laced with the scent of age and decay. Hieroglyphics adorned the walls, warning intruders of an eternal curse. Michael smirked. He had heard such superstitions before. He pressed on, his flashlight illuminating a golden sarcophagus in the center of the chamber. His team followed, setting up lights and cameras. Dr. Nadia Hassan, an Egyptologist, traced the inscriptions with trembling fingers. It says, "He who disturbs the eternal slumber of Ankhhotep shall be claimed by the shadows." Ignoring her caution, Michael ordered the sarcophagus opened. A gust of stale air escaped as the heavy lid was removed, revealing a perfectly preserved mummy wrapped in blackened linen. A sudden flicker in the lights made the team freeze. Then the sound of whispering filled the chamber. The whispers turned into agonized screams. Something slithered in the darkness, brushing against Michael's arm. He swung his flashlight wildly, revealing a shadowy figure looming behind Nadia. She gasped, her body contorting unnaturally before she was dragged into the darkness, her terrified screams echoing. Michael, now alone, clutched an amulet he had taken from the sarcophagus. His breath came in ragged gasps as he backed against the cold wall. The whispers returned, forming words in a guttural, ancient tongue. "You have taken what is mine." The darkness closed in. Michael felt his limbs stiffen, his skin tightening as an unbearable cold seeped into his bones. He screamed as his body mummified before his own eyes, his flesh turning to withered husks, his soul trapped within the tomb for eternity. The next morning, the excavation team found the tomb eerily silent. The sarcophagus was resealed. No trace of Michael or his team remained, except for the fresh hieroglyphics now etched into the walls, depicting their final moments. Ankhhotep had claimed his vengeance. Some days later, a young archaeologist named Elias Carter went to check what really happening there. He set up his tent and went to Pyramid in the same midnight. Elias Carter had always considered himself a man of reason. He had spent decades unearthing ancient artifacts, studying civilizations long lost to time. But as he stood alone in the suffocating darkness of the buried pyramid, the weight of something unseen pressed against his chest. The stale air carried whispers, faint and distant, yet unmistakably real. The expedition had started with high hopes. The pyramid had been uncovered beneath the shifting sands of the Egyptian desert, its entrance sealed tight with no sign of prior intrusion. The others hesitated, muttering about curses and ancient warnings, but Elias dismissed their fears. Now, as he descended deeper into the tomb's winding corridors, a gnawing unease settled in his gut. The carvings on the walls were unlike anything Elias had seen before. Men clawing at their faces, their eyes hollow voids. One figure was shown running, arms stretched forward in terror, while a shadowy presence loomed behind him. The corridor opened into a vast burial chamber. At its center lay an ornate sarcophagus, gold and black, bearing the unmistakable figure. A thrill of discovery coursed through Elias. This was untouched history, a treasure beyond value. Elias pried the lid open. The heavy stone slid aside with a groan, revealing the withered remains of a man wrapped in decayed linen. But something was wrong. His mouth was open in a silent scream, his fingers curled as if frozen mid-clutch. Then a gust of wind howled through the chamber, though there was no entrance for it to pass through. The torches along the walls flickered violently, then went out. The only light came from Elias's flashlight, its beam wavering as his hands trembled. Then the whispering began. Then he saw it, a shape tall and impossibly thin, unfurled from the darkness. Its face was obscured, but the glow of two empty, hollow sockets stared straight at him. The figure moved without sound, its steps not touching the ground. A scream tore from Elias's throat as he turned and ran. The corridors twisted and stretched unnaturally, as if the tomb itself conspired against him. The whispers grew louder, turning into wails of the damned. Footsteps, impossibly fast, impossibly near, pounded behind him. Gasping, Elias spotted a sliver of moonlight ahead, a crack in the ancient stone. He threw himself toward it, clawing at the loose rock. He could feel the cold breath of the thing behind him, reaching, grasping. With a final, desperate push, he squeezed through the opening, tumbling onto the sand outside. The whispers stopped. The presence vanished. For long moments, Elias lay there, gasping, trembling. He turned back toward the tomb. The crack he had crawled through was gone. His mind reeled. Had he imagined it all? But as he staggered to his feet, something cold brushed against his hand. He looked down. There, pressed into the flesh of his palm, was a single black scarab beetle, still writhing. And from deep within the tomb, a whisper drifted out into the night. "You should not have run." Suddenly, he woke up from sleeping in his tent just a few meters from the pyramids. The haunting of Ankhhotep continues. Beware of him when you visit there.